Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep inside the human mind to tackle a really fascinating topic, the source of our most profound and sometimes confusing spiritual experiences.
You know that feeling, right? When you have an experience that feels, well, otherworldly? It could be a sudden insight that pops into your head, a dream that feels more real than reality, maybe even a voice. We're going to explore a framework that's been used for centuries to answer a really critical question. Was that a message from the divine? Some kind of malicious deception? Or was it just your own imagination running wild?
So here's our game plan for getting to the bottom of this. We're going to start by laying out the three basic kinds of visions. Then we'll get into why it's so easy to be deceived. After that, we'll look at the specific tests you can use to put these experiences on trial. And finally, we'll pull it all together into a handy guide for telling a divine message from a devilish one, or just a plain old dream.
All right, first things first. Before we can analyze anything, we need some categories, right? A framework to even begin talking about this stuff. And drawing from a long history of scholastic philosophy, these experiences are broken down into three really distinct types.
Okay, so first up we have what's called a corporeal vision. And this one's probably the easiest to wrap your head around. It's when you see or hear something with your actual physical senses, your eyes, your ears, but the thing you're perceiving, it isn't really there. It's an apparition. It feels totally real, but it has no physical substance.
A classic example of this comes from the story of young Tobias, who was accompanied on a journey by an archangel. Now, to Tobias, this angel looked and acted just like a real human companion. But here's the kicker. No one else could see him. He was only visible to Tobias.
The second type, this one's more internal. It's the imaginary vision. This isn't something you see with your eyes, but something that's impressed directly onto your imagination. Think of it like a super vivid dream, or a mental image that pops into your head with a clarity that feels way more real than just a regular daydream. And this is where things start to get a little tricky, a little dangerous even. These kinds of visions are seen as particularly perilous because, let's face it, our imagination is a wild place. It's a jumble of memories, desires, fears, and that makes it the perfect breeding ground for deception, whether that's coming from the outside or just from ourselves. And that brings us to our final category. This one is the most abstract of the three, but it's also considered the purest and the least likely to be corrupted. It's the intellectual vision. This message completely bypasses your senses and your imagination and goes straight to your intellect. So let's be super clear here. This isn't about seeing a picture in your mind's eye or hearing a voice. It's more like a direct download of information, a pure, direct understanding. It's that sudden, profound, aha moment of realization that just arrives, fully formed, right in your mind. Okay, so we've got our three types of visions, but that just leads to the really big question, doesn't it? If these experiences can come in so many different forms, how on earth are you supposed to know where they're coming from? How do you know if it's real? Well, according to this framework, any of these mystical messages really only has three possible sources. It could be from God, it could be from the devil, or it could just be coming from our own minds. And it's noted that this is especially common during times of intense emotion or distress, what they used to call melancholy. And to really hammer home why the imagination is seen as so unreliable, the source material uses this fantastic analogy. It says the mind can be like an old-fashioned projector using lantern slides. It can replay our old memories, it can remix them, or it can create entirely new images that feel incredibly real. And it's so easy to mistake one of those self-made slides for a genuine message from beyond. So that's the problem. But what's the solution? I mean, how do you actually put these spirits, these messages, to the test? Well, this framework doesn't just leave you hanging. It gives a very specific set of proofs to look for. And it turns out there are three key signs, like a checklist, that a message is genuinely divine. First, the words have real power and authority. Second, they leave behind a state of profound calm. And third, they create a memory that is just impossible to forget. Let's dig into that first proof. Power and authority. The key idea here is that the words are, and this is the term they use, operative, which basically means they do what they say they're going to do. The example given is perfect. If a soul is suffering and hears, "be at peace," a truly divine message won't just suggest peace, it will instantly create it. The trouble vanishes. All right, sign number 2 is all about the after effect. You know, what feeling is left behind. A truly divine message doesn't leave you with anxiety or frantic excitement or confusion. Instead, it leaves a great calm and a devout and peaceful recollection. It's this deep, profound tranquility that just settles over your soul. And finally, the third proof, it's all about staying power. These things stick around. Unlike a dream that fades the moment you wake up, or a random thought that's gone in 60 seconds, these communications are said to remain crystal clear in the memory for a very, very long time. Sometimes they're never forgotten.
Okay, so we've got the 3 kinds of visions, and we've got the 3 tests for authenticity. Now let's put it all together and see how these things stack up side by side. Let's build a comparative guide.
And this table just lays it all out so clearly, doesn't it? Look at the contrast here. A message from God, it brings profound peace, its words are powerful and unforgettable, and the end result is humility. From the devil, you get anxiety, confusion, deception, leading to either pride or despair. And from your own imagination, well, there's no lasting effect, and it all boils down to self-interest.
But I really want you to focus on that last column, the resulting state, because this is maybe the most important and kind of counterintuitive point of the whole thing. A genuine divine experience does not puff up your ego. In fact, it does the exact opposite. It produces a deep and profound humility, making a person more aware of their own flaws, not less.
It's a total paradox, right? The soul actually esteems itself less. It becomes more aware of its own failings and way less focused on self-interest. The big takeaway here is that an authentic divine communication isn't about making you feel special or chosen. It's about making you feel humbled.
And all of this really leaves us with a big, fascinating question for today, doesn't it? We've just walked through a deeply theological way of understanding our inner world. But it really makes you wonder, in our modern world of psychology and neuroscience, how do we interpret these timeless questions about the human mind and spirit? Where does theology end and psychology begin?